So Danielle, the reason why I wanted to bring you here is because you got good insight and good, like a different perspective about this stuff. And so what we're talking about is struggles and unworthiness and the feeling of that.
Yeah.
You know, in life in general, there's so many different types of feelings of unworthiness. But so what I'm doing is getting everybody's perspective, and I wanted to get yours. So my first question to you is, do you ever feel unworthy? And how does that affect your thoughts about yourself?
Never that. It's like all the time. How does that affect my thoughts?
Like, yeah, how does it affect your thoughts about yourself?
Definitely have struggled for years with like the sense of unworthiness and not being enough. I always go back to a place of where I'm being selfish or I'm not worthy of certain attention or things or being a burden to others.
Right. All these thoughts start creeping in and everything, right? And then that feeling, does it like overtake you?
Yeah, especially if I'm in a negative headspace, it's hard to get out. It's hard to get out of that.
And so like the feeling of that unworthiness, how does that feeling connect to your personal struggles within?
Dang.
That's a deep question, right?
That's deep. How does the feeling of unworthiness connect to my personal struggles? I'd say more recently, being a mom or a foster mom, that's been really that sense of unworthiness. I was doing good for a minute there.
Yeah.
I went to Soul Beauty?
Yeah,
I went to Soul Beauty, and we addressed being enough and unworthiness, and I was on fire. I was like, I'm enough. And then I became a foster mom. And real quick, I got humbled and was reminded of, like, those negative thoughts came up really quick. So I think connecting it to my personal struggles is like feeling like I'm not going to be enough. I'm not good enough to be a mom.
Yeah, that's heavy. That's good though, because
I'm not going to cry. You're crying.
some people don't even acknowledge that or see that. You know what I mean? And the fact that you're sharing this is going to help somebody else who may be fostering, you know, or somebody else who maybe feels unworthy of being a parent.
Yeah.
You know, because it obviously has its struggles.
Yeah, I thought we were ready to be parents, you know. Thought we were in a good place, and God rocked my world by sending us our...
Yeah. I mean, we never know what God's plan is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, what I'm thinking is, like, the feeling of that, it has to affect your mental, and your, like, maybe the thoughts connect, and it affects your mental stability. So what my question is what has for you specifically, what has your mental health been like through the last year? And like, why do you think it's in that way, in a good state or bad state?
Go ahead.
Oh, like for you, like what's your mental state? Is it good, bad? Why is it that way?
For me, this year, my mental health's been in a roller coaster.
Yeah. Had
ups and downs, more downs than ups. So I would say it's in a not so good mental state for sure. COVID had a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
I think for everyone, it put us in this uncomfortable situation that we weren't used to. And I lost people I was really close to this year. Not to COVID. Just a couple people to COVID, but, you know, I lost my best friend to cancer. So, and I've known her my whole life. And she really helped me. She really helped me as I struggled through those, like, unworthy thoughts of being a parent, a first-time parent. So with her being gone, I don't have I have support, but it's hard when you don't have that person. And, you know, I have God, but I feel like it's taken me some time to get back to that place where I could talk to him because I've been angry.
And that's hard adjusting, especially when you have something so precious. And you know, people say, you know, the cliches of everything when you lose somebody.
Yeah.
Right.
I never realized how cliche they were until you're living it and you're like, stop. I don't want to hear that they're in a better place. I know. It just still hurts.
Right. And so, like, how that affects your mental state is more than somebody could understand. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to... One thing that one of our students was talking about is, he goes, I know that, you know, God is there, you know, but it's still hard to turn to God spiritually because of my mental stability or because of what I'm thinking or whatever.
Well, the enemy is still there too, and he's still fighting for you to have that doubt, that self-doubt. So you have to, like, be grounded in your faith pretty well. Mm-hmm. But, like, there's such a stigma on mental health that, like, you have to just be okay. And I think that's teaching a lot of people this year that, like, mental health is a priority, needs to be. And that sometimes you need to go outside of yourself and get that help so you can get back to a place where you can, like, logically be like, okay, actually that was just me and my trauma and me hurting, and I can get back to a place where I'm, like, stable with God, you know? Mm-hmm. He provides those people to be a service to you. Like, I got therapy, like, as soon as I found out my friend wasn't getting better.
Right. And so I completely agree with you with the mental, you know, with our mental state and mental health.
Yeah. Like,
I believe it's extremely important. But I believe, like, how you had mentioned, God puts certain people in our life to help with certain things, and with, you know, in that area, I believe sometimes it gets hard for people to recognize that.
Yeah.
To recognize those things or those people that's from God. You know,
because sometimes you're like, I don't want to have to ask for help, and that was my issue. I don't want to burden somebody to ask for help, but it's okay to ask for help. And yeah. Well,
I believe that's definitely a big stigma in itself. It's not asking for help, and it kind of there's a lot we could dive into here.
That connects to not feeling worthy for help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. See, this is why I want your insight.
Yeah, man.
I'm pretty wise. Yeah.
Pretty wise.
But
therapy. Well, and like now, it just been able to process stuff with a therapist. I can, like, have that hunger for God again and, like, really get into my word. And these help me, like, with control and the situations in my family right now. So
like, doing it full circle, would you say that therapy has kind of helped with your feeling of worthiness in some way, or form, or fashion?
For sure. I think it's helped me connect. You know, on a spiritual level, I understand that I'm worthy to God. Mm-hmm. But it helps me remember in those, like, dark moments that are hard to get out of. Helps me, like, again, step outside of myself and say, okay, well, why am I feeling that right now? Is it because am I, like, emotional and I'm going back to a place of, like, trauma? Like, am I being triggered in something that's making me feel like I did when I was younger and being made to feel unworthy by, like, not having a dad, or people hurt me in my past? Am I being triggered by that, and that's why I'm feeling like you could get stuck in an age, like, okay, I'm stuck at 13 right now where I felt my worst. And she helped, like, having a therapist has helped me really recognize, like, okay, think about where you're at in that moment. Are you your child self, or are you where are you in a good space? And then you can be like, oh, okay, this is, like, trauma me.
Yeah.
This is my child self, and now I can, like, recognize and step my way into, like, chill out. We're not.
And the thing is, I feel like people don't recognize that. They don't even know about it.
You would never know if you weren't in therapy or going to school for psychology.
Right. And it's important. And, like, the way I've always thought about it is, when you're sick physically, you go to the doctors. Yes. You know, if you're not feeling well mentally, you know, where do you go?
The brain doctor.
The brain doctor.
The emotional doctor.
But the main thing is, I want people to know is that God's love is there for them, and that God loves us,
Yeah.
And that, especially because I feel like we ignore that because we're so in it and in the midst of our feeling of unworthiness.
Yeah.
So, but hey, I really love your insight and
Thanks.
what you bring to the table.
Thanks. I'll point to the table.
But yeah, I really enjoyed having you here, and it's been real.
Thanks.